Any modifications or changes to tonight's agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to public comment. Is there anybody here from the public who's not an agenda item tonight? No? All right.
I'm checking.
We'll move, or is there anybody on Zoom?
Nobody.
All right, we'll move on to review and approval for minutes September 28th, 2021. If everyone got a chance to look those over and didn't see any errors or anything left out, I'll hear a motion to accept them.
I'll make a motion.
Heather has the first, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Candy with the second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Okay, up next, Town of Enisburg Planning Commission Municipal Planning Grant Application with Jesse Woods. Evening.
Hey guys. So, you probably recall, whatever it was, a while ago, we talked about the consolidation of, forms, fee schedules. After we kind of found out, but we talked about how the village bylaws are gonna be up here coming next year. It was kind of a good opportunity with, there was 2 grants out there. There was a municipal planning grant, and then there was the bylaw modernization grant. We didn't know, back a few weeks ago, we didn't know what that bylaw modernization grant meant. We didn't know the scope of it. Since then, Greta from Northwest Regional Planning has kind of filled us in. We looked at the 2 of them. We found that's not really what we need. To update that bylaw, we're gonna go with the municipal planning grant. The total on that is 22,000, I think the total grant is. So after talking with the planning commission, talking with Greta, it was a good opportunity not only to consolidate the fees and the forms, but also the actual documents themselves, the village and the town bylaws, and we can kind of do what the bylaw modernization grant was looking at. We can update everything in there to make sure all the processes are, up to date, basically. So, we're gonna go with this kind of larger scope thing and really just combine everything together. Applications are due on November 1st. So it's a $2,200 match. And I just want to give you the outline on this, which is going to come from the town's general fund. So basically it splits the village and town portions of that. The funky part in this whole thing is, since we are consolidating both village and town in this, it looks at our population as a whole. So we're over 2,500 residents for town and village. So we actually have to get a 3-bid procurement for somebody to, rewrite these for us. In the past, it's always been Northwest Regional Planning's gone in and helped us and done that. They're still helping us. They're still doing that. They're actually going to be writing the grant for the MPG. Right now, we've been working with Greta on that. But Northwest, one of the things that we talked about was it's kind of a conflict of interest for them to be writing the grant and then turn around and applying for, that job. And they also kind of, Greta had, she had said she wasn't sure if they were really up for that kind of scope of work of, melding this entire thing into one. So, but we're so excited. The Planning Commission's so excited to do this. Actually, we left the last Planning Commission meeting, and they were like, "This is, it was a really good vibe. It wasn't kind of like a, oh, we got to do this, So, everybody's in high spirits in this because it is going to be a long process. We have 18 months if we do, knock on wood, get awarded the MPG. We have 18 months to complete the work. Realistically, I think we should be able to definitely get it in within a year. We're definitely going to have to get the village one done first because that's the one up. We can't let that run out over the year because otherwise then we can't go for grants. We have to have that document in place. So some of the things we kind of spitballed during that meeting, and Greta had kind of suggested, was depending on who, we do get to rewrite this, this document, is the possibility of, having a website for progress as we're doing things to make more transparency, to show people. One of the things I've seen in the last few months is people are always like, why this rule, this rule's dumb, this is this. This is the time when I tell people, like, if you're in the village, of course, in the town now, come to these meetings, come to these hearings, when, look at this stuff. If we can keep that information out there, just like I said, it's just another level of transparency to allow people for their input on, on the document. So again, it's gonna be based on whether or not, whoever we, potentially give the bid to, if they have that, ability. We wanna look at conditional use, site plan review, just modernizing all of the documents, making it just entirely more friendly, user-friendly, so people can look at it and they don't have to go, where's this, what's this, some of these tables, we look at a boundary line adjustment and go to table 2.1, well, the boundary line adjustment's not in table 2.1. There's a lot of things. There's actually one section at the end of the village one where it actually refers to South Hero in the end of the bylaw, so. It was,
Okay now.
yeah, it was very much a cut and paste. You can definitely tell it's just a lot of things where, a lot of applicable municipalities, it's just cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste.
Don't
I
worry,
found that
just
right
cut,
off,
paste.
and it was like, it literally says South Hero in the village one. So just really taking sections and really going through them and with a fine tooth comb. The other, thing that we talked about is website integration as far as applying for the documents, as permits, applications, all that stuff. If we can apply for it online, possibly submit payments. I might be getting ahead of myself on that kind of stuff, but it was kind of one of the things we had talked about. Just making it a little bit easier for people to, submit their information. So. And that's about it. The only thing, so what I'm here for is basically a letter of support from the board. Like I said, the money-wise, it's gonna come out of the town general fund. It's just basically, because it is your document, just a letter of support saying that you guys are a go with this. It can come from you, or you can actually make a motion to allow John to be the agent for you to sign off, for support, so.
I have a draft, if you guys want, I can hand you copies of it, of a letter giving support to the grant application on behalf of the village. If you guys want, I can pass it around.
I apologize, that wasn't on anything on John's, and that just came through from Northwest today, so that,
Yeah, but
that letter.
as Jesse said, if you guys want, you can designate me as the signer on this, and I can get it back to Jesse tomorrow. And
So, are you pretty confident that you're gonna get 3 bids?
So that question actually came up, whether or not, if anything was actually ever not bid on, And I talked to Greta a little bit about that today. We talked about that in our planning commission meeting. She had said that she's never seen a situation like this where it's gone out to bid and had absolutely no bids at all. She said it's always been picked up by somebody.
And you only need 3 because it's over 2,500 population?
Right.
So, I'm just thinking, what if there wasn't 3 bids? Like, what if there's only 1?
Right. and
Would you
that's-
split the municipalities at that point?
Well, exactly. Then we go back kind of square one, and we can go back, we can split the municipalities and just update them and keep them the same way and go and, in another 5 years, we go down that road,
Right.
That was kind of what was the talk, or if we don't, if the company that that does put the bid in and we're not comfortable with them, or there's something, something that gives somebody heartburn on that, yeah, we can just go back to updating the village one and, we can still update. I would like to see the village files, or the village applications updated at the very least too, because a lot of the village applications, the permit ones have been copied and copied and copied and recopied so many times that it's grayscale now. It's pretty hard to see some of that stuff. So if we, at the very least, we freshen that stuff up and definitely update the village, for some of the downtown stuff, some of the things, What I've been doing in these last few months is anything that's come up, I've been making basically kind of a hit list of why are we doing this? What is this? Let's look at this, And then the little things like why is South Hero listed in here? Let's change this. So I've been trying to do that with both the town and the village, just to change the things that, and maybe they don't need changing. Maybe they're fine. Maybe the planning commission or whoever does it, maybe that's what the norm is, so.
When are the town's bylaws up?
Oh, I don't remember. I'm not sure. I'll get back to you. I'm not sure. I can't remember. They just did those a few years ago, I remember, so. Yeah,
And there's
it's not, I
no
don't,
five-year bylaw?
it's every 5 for them, but I think, I mean, they're definitely staggered. I wanna say it's been 2 or 3 years, but don't quote me on that, so.
One of the things you can do, Jesse, assuming you get the grant and you're awarded the grant, is, you know, be out there searching for some private consultants that do this kind of work, and, you know, find yourself 3 or 4 and
Right.
call them directly and tell them, look, this is the project, you know, we're gonna be advertising this for a public bid, we'd really like you to put a bid in if you can. And, you know, some people may say no, some people may say yes, but keep calling people until you got at least 3 of them that say,
Right.
yes, I'm gonna put a bid in on that, thank you for calling.
And Greta and I talked a little bit about it today. Like I said, I had some questions into her, and we just barely connected today. And she did say that there is a website of planners, and the name escapes me. She told me what the website was today, but there is a name of planners that you can go out there and search. And you're right, squeaky wheel gets the grease, you know, and really start pounding the pavement and seeing what we can, you know, do for interest. So. But like I said, it was nice because the planning commission was because the planning commission, they don't get paid, you know, it's a volunteer job, and like I said, when we got done with Greta, everybody was in good spirits and everybody was excited to do it, you know, to put it together, because I think I told you last time I was here, between the 2 documents, they're 230 pages. And, I mean, they're not page turners. If you want to go to bed at night, sure, but it's, you know, and they actually had also talked about, you know, each one of them grabbing sections too, as another fine-tooth comb of like, okay, you got this section, go through and make sure it sounds, because, you know, the majority of the planning commission is on the DRB, so those guys are, you know, they're making them, but they're also having to enforce them too, so it kind of gives, you know, kind of a double protection there, you know, when they turn around and they have to go to a hearing, and, you know, we're standing there, and, you know, everybody's digging through the book and making sure that those, you know, bylaws are applicable or understandable, or, so.
All right,
Anything else?
I don't have any other questions. Anybody else? Well, if the board agrees, I don't see a problem with supporting this. Do you have a clean copy of this draft?
No, I've got it on the computer.
Okay. If we had a clean copy, I'd sign it, but we can just appoint John as our designated agent, so.
So I move that John's our designated agent for this.
And I'll second.
All right, you're there with the first, Sandy with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, and you know, everything is still open for you guys to express your village. I know in the past we haven't, as being a trustee, one time we kind of, you know, took a back seat to it, but if at any point you guys want to be involved or any questions or anything like that, my office is always open too, so. But-
Thank you.
All right,
you very
thanks,
much.
guys. Have a good night.
Good night,
too.
Jesse.
All right, up next we have Lincoln Park permit request for Enosburg Business Association holidays in Enisburg and tree lighting events. Ina?
Yes, so Christmas in Enisburg. I do have some corrections to make after our Christmas meeting today. The event date will just be December 4th. Last year, traditionally, Christmas in Enisburg is always the first Saturday of December. Last year, because of COVID and trying to kind of keep people from crowding too much, we split the lighting and what would have been the parade dates. We ended up canceling the parade because of COVID, but so this year we just decided everything is gonna be on the same day. St. Albans is doing their event in their park with fireworks on the 27th that weekend. So we don't wanna compete with that. We're gonna go back to our traditional first Saturday, which would be December 4th. So that would be the date for the lighting. So I guess my request is really one, for permission to install, we did the bridges of lights last year instead of all the trees in the park. So permission to install those again. We still have the lights that are in good use that were purchased last year by the village. So we intend to use those again. some lights on the bandstand like we did, put some lights around the, oh my goodness, Doughboy. And then I also would like permission to use the poles on the Wood Meadow Market side, like we did last year, to light up those trees. And then I would be asking Paul Godin and Brenda,
Kim.
excuse me, Brenda, Kim, thank you, to use their power to light up the other side, like we did last year. We would not be doing the trees in front of the cemetery. It's too much power to draw off that building. So that's one. And then we are working in collaboration with the Lions Club. They have a meeting next week. I'm not sure, at the very least, I would anticipate their participation level being what it's been in the past, providing manpower and their barricades and such. So permission to have the parade again. The parade would, in our mind right now, come off of Dickinson as it has in the past. I do have Santa lined up to be the Grand Marshal. Would stop in front of the park with some announcements and such, light up the bridges and Main Street. The parade would continue, turn down Depot, and then back onto Pleasant and back to Dickinson. So kind of a larger but shorter version.
And they would both be on December 4th then?
Correct, like it has been in the
Nothing on
past.
the
Yeah, no, yeah, you can
November
cross those
27th
dates
or
right out.
28th, okay.
So the use of the bandstand would be on 12/4.
Okay,
And then you have a modified parade route. Not, so it's not the Dairy Day.
Not up
or-
all the way, yeah, not all the way up to Main Street or to Elm Street. I don't really think, if we're gonna light the park at the same time, we kind of want to have people around Main Street and the park. And quite frankly, our parade's not that big. So, what else do I add? We would start installing, the plan is to start installing the bridges themselves and have the lights on them the week of November 15th, the week before Thanksgiving, so that we have time. The Lions are, again, going to provide the power boxes in the park.
Is that the one that Dave Trihorn was requesting some assistance with?
Yes, I think he had talked to you before about David Wescombe helping. Dave and Sally do intend to be back from South Carolina, I think it is. John, do you have a question for me?
so on the bandstand permit, you had listed November 27th or November 28th, so.
Yeah, that would change to 12/4. I mean, really, there's
Okay.
no event
So
on the
are
bandstand.
you guys gonna need to test the lights or anything beforehand?
So we would want the power turned on the week of November 15th.
Okay, that's what we need to know on this permit, is when you want the power turned on to that, that box in the back of the bandstand.
Week
Or-
of, yeah, November 15th.
So the week of, sorry, I had a couple of things pop up over
It's
here.
okay.
Okay, so that Monday, the 15th,
Yeah, I mean, anytime that week, honestly. We're probably gonna start
okay, so,
physically installing things Wednesday.
all right, so I'll just say the 15th. Our guys just need a date,
Yeah,
that's all,
that's
they
fine.
just need a date.
Yep.
So I'll tell them November 15th, we need to turn the power on there then. Okay.
Okay, are we allowed to modify that much on a permit?
Sorry.
Well, I guess I'd say it's at your discretion.
Okay.
I can send you a new one.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with it, as long as, I think we need a clear copy,
Yeah.
at least. But for now, we can
You can
Except
vote
with
on
the
the
changes,
modifications
yeah.
and I'll send it updated.
That way there's no confusion.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't have an issue with it. So, if the board wishes, we can make a motion to approve the Enisburg Business Association applications and bandstand permits with the modifications mentioned tonight.
I move.
A second.
Either the first side or the second. All those in favor say aye.
Alright.
Those opposed, nay. Okay.
I do have one more question, if I can ask. So the lights on Main Street, not the ones in the park themselves, the ones on Main Street were purchased and donated by a business last year. Those lights on those streets take a beating and so have to be replaced. We have, the EVA is contributing, or has $250 to contribute. I have a donation from a business for $250. I'm wondering if the trustees would be willing to kick in $250 to purchase lights for those trees.
How much is left in the holiday lighting fund?
Top of my head, I don't know.
There must be some money still left in
I
there.
believe. I can go check, I have the binder in my office real quick, if you want me to. I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there is, you should be fine.
Yeah, especially 250. Because I know that there was some extra left over a few years ago, and we stopped because it was what, $500 a year? Okay. Or maybe, yeah, it was 1,000. I think there was a pretty good amount in there at one point, but I don't think that was specific for the park, was it?
We had some money for the park, I believe they gave just for, this was lighting the park.
But was it for holiday lighting or like lighting in the park?
No, I was holiday lighting, I'm pretty sure.
Because you want it on Main Street, right?
Right? What
Yeah,
about the lighting line that
the
goes?
way the article is
holiday
written,
decorations?
I think it's written as holiday lighting in the downtown area.
Okay.
21.
There's $2,100 in there, so yeah, I don't see an issue with that. Do we need a motion for them to draw, or?
Just to be safe, probably should have a record of it.
Yeah, Eli has a motion and head over the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay.
So for that, would we do that the same way we did with the other ones, just
By
them
order.
separately?
And all this is like, well,
Okay,
Okay, sounds good. All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Up next, we have removal of Sean Cayo as village rep on the CUD and consideration of new appointees for the village on the CUD.
Okay, each one of you has a copy of the email. No, it's separate. I set it in front of you, so
Looks like this.
it says Gmail at the top. And this is a letter from Daniel. He and his wife, Akua, live in the new house as you go up Duffy Hill Road, the one that's the Frank Lloyd Wright looking house. And I found out kind of by accident one day when we met on the street and we were talking that he was an IT person, among many other things I see now. And so I mentioned the CUD to him and he was immediately very interested. So this is his bio that he sent to us. He couldn't be here tonight because he and his wife are in New Orleans. They weren't coming back until late tonight. So he sent this for our consideration, I guess. I don't know him well, but I have met him on several occasions and I have been very impressed with both of them. Very impressed. I think Enisburg Falls is lucky that they moved here.
You seemed excited at the opportunity for this.
He's pretty calm.
Well, that's good. We have a village resident that's interested in IT and willing to be on a board. That's a start right there.
Yeah. And like I said, he would have been here tonight if they had been around.
He's got my blessing.
All right.
He's interested.
Do we need a motion to appoint?
Yeah, you need two motions. One to remove Sean Cayo as the representative from the village to the CUD, and then another to appoint the new person, Daniel, that you would like to replace Sean.
Do I have to recuse myself because I found him?
No, I don't think so.
Sandy, you wouldn't have any idea on how to pronounce his last name?
No,
Okay.
I was just about to ask that question if I
I think it's
missed it.
Tumwasigi, but I'm not sure. My
Okay, I will do my
Ugandan,
best.
my
but
Ugandan is
sorry,
not
Daniel.
good. Just call him Daniel for now.
All right. All right, I need a motion to remove Sean Cayo as our current representative and appoint Daniel Tumwasige.
We gotta do them separately or together? I think he's,
We can do them separate, or together.
okay, then I'll move.
All right,
And
Ian
I'll
with the first, Sandy with the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay.
Can I see that just to spell his last name? Since-
Here,
Thank you.
there's a, so. Once I start making copies, it's like cupcakes, they just keep coming out.
Right.
I can take that one.
Yeah, okay. All right, up next, we have 2022 budget timetable and projects.
Okay, so we're getting close to that time of year. Staff is starting to sharpen our pencils, look at projects for the upcoming year, starting to have some discussions on budgets. So before we get too far into things, as we do every year, I wanted to give you a draft of the upcoming year's budget timetable, go over those major dates with you, and then also ask if there are other projects that we are not already considering that the board would like to see in your preliminary budgets. So on the 19th, I'll be sending out a memo along with budget worksheets for each department to our department heads, asking for those department drafts to be submitted to me by November 30th. Then from November 30th to December 29th, the manager along with the finance director will be doing budget analysis and preparation. That includes meeting with our department heads, refining the figures that we see in their drafts, and preparing a preliminary budget that will be the first budget the Board of Trustees will look at and review. That preliminary budget will be due to the board on December 30th. We will place those budgets in your box on that date for your review at your own convenience. And our first budget meeting will be on January 4th, 2022, which will be a special board meeting dealing only with the budget for the 2022 year. I've budgeted, or I'm sorry, that wasn't a good word, I should find another verb there. I've allocated 4 different meetings to have budget discussions during 2022. As we do every year, we've got 5 dates in here in case we need to have 5 different meetings. So the first is January 4th, then it'd be January 11th, January 18th, January 25th, and then the 5th meeting would be February 1st if we need to have that. And it's different every year. You know, we've done some budgets in 3 meetings. Some budgets we've needed to go to 5. I'd say typically we do them in 4, but every year is different, you know. So, but we should be able to do it in 5. So I always allocate enough that we can have 5 budget meetings if we need to go to 5. So the goal is to have an approved budget by the Board of Trustees by February 1st, no later than February 1st. So for those of you that haven't been through this process before, and you're not looking at the dates on a calendar, each one of these board meetings is on a Tuesday. So we meet every Tuesday, then starting from January 4th through February 1st, or as many of those dates as we need. If we get it done earlier, then we won't have to meet the February 1st or January 5th, however much time it takes. But just so you can mark those in your calendar, so that's every Tuesday night then through that period. Also February 1st, the warning needs to be finalized and signed by the Board of Trustees. That same date, as I said, the budget needs to be approved as well. And on February 4th, which is the Friday coming up after that Tuesday meeting, we will need our annual report and budget to be completed and to the printers. Also on February 4th, we publish the warning, so that gets posted, but also printed and newspaper as well. February 18th, our annual report is scheduled to be back from the printers. I try to give them 2 weeks to turn that around to us. Sometimes they don't need it, sometimes they can get it quicker, but sometimes they do need the 2 weeks. It all depends on what their schedule looks like. So we should have it back by February 18th for distribution to the public. And then our annual meeting this year will be on March 8th. So that hits all of, the major events, the major dates, taking us through the budget timeline. And there are some projects that we know we're going to be having in our preliminary budget, your first budget that you'll be reviewing as a board. Things that have come up during the course of the year through Board of Trustees meetings, and you've asked to be in the budget. So some of those are the Church Street sidewalk on the northeastern side. You may recall this was due to a conversation with a couple of folks that we had in over the summer that had requested that the village go in and redo the sidewalk on that side of the street. Happens to be the side of the street that they live on. And the board did agree to at least put it in the first budget so you could take a look at it and see what the numbers look like. The purchase of 2 more electric speed signs to be placed at different locations in the village. A new phone system potentially. We're still working on trying to put a plan together to replace our phone system here in the office. So staff is going to have some figures for you to review as part of that preliminary budget. We're still working on that though, so I don't have anything solid to share with you tonight on that, but it is something we're planning on having in that preliminary budget. Then also a planning study that would look at burying the electric and other utility lines along the full length of Main Street. So, that's gonna take a little while, I think, to get through that study. We should all be prepared that, could be around a year or so in the process of doing that study. And it's probably more complicated than the board might be thinking, because it's not going to make any sense for us to do it if we don't bury all of the utility lines, and we don't have control over all of the utility lines. We only have control over the electric lines, but there's also telephone lines and cable lines on our poles as well. So we're also going to have to bring in the phone company and cable company as well to try and get their buy-in on doing something like that, because it will cost them money as well. But you got to start somewhere. So
Yeah.
this would be a study to look at all of those different issues.
The wires will then be out of their way. I mean, that's why several of the trees on the east side of Main Street are gone, because the telephone company came to me when those trees had started to grow, and the ones that aren't there anymore were taken down because of the telephone company. So I would think they would be happy that they're not gonna have that problem anymore, because they're right back up there again.
Telephone company's awful weird, but
Well, I've learned that.
problem is if we put the lines down, we don't agree to do it, we're gonna stay, the poles are gonna stay there with the power and the Comcast and that's all.
Whose poles are they?
We've joined them, I believe.
Yeah.
Take our hat.
Well, we aren't gonna know if we don't try.
Take the bottom
half.
half. Take the bottom
Well,
half.
this is just the first step
Yep.
when looking at it, is to do
Gotta start somewhere.
a planning study and find out what the issues are that would be involved in this, and hopefully some potential solutions.
Hopefully some cooperation too.
And we
Yeah.
can't be the only village or town that this is the case.
We do
Oh, no,
Danville.
You know,
There's-
that it involved the telephone
Yeah.
company and the cable
You
company.
go through
But yeah,
Danville.
no, there's towns around that have done this in their downtown areas before.
We're having a hard time, I'm just transferring from old pole to new pole right now.
So that's another project that we're planning on having in the preliminary budget. Also, if, this kind of depends on, you know, what we can get done through the remainder of this year, but the board expressed last meeting you're interested in having this hybrid system of Board of Trustees meeting where you have the option for people to both attend physically at a meeting, but to log in via Zoom as well if they choose to use that method instead. So as was discussed last meeting, that will mean we need to do some equipment purchases. Fortunately, through Abby's research, we've discovered that we can get the ARPA funds to pay for that, but it's going to depend also on, you know, how quickly we can turn that all around. If we can get it done this year, then you won't see that in the preliminary budget, but there's a possibility that you may see that project or the funding of that project being carried over into 2022. Even though it's going to be paid by grant funds, you still need to show it in the budget. And then also the purchase of a new digger truck for the electric department. I had indicated to you guys a couple of meetings back that, you know, that's really, at least in my opinion and in Dave Westcom's opinion, the superintendent for our electric department, that's the long-term solution to our digger truck issue. And, you know, given the fact that we are right now being told we have a minimum 2-year lead time on getting a new digger truck, I think it makes sense to put the order in next year, knowing we're not going to get it for at least 2 more years after that. So that won't actually hit the budget in 2022 because we won't have to start paying for it until we receive the vehicle and it passes all of our testing once we get it. But we do need approval from the board to at least, you know, get the permission to put the order in. So we do have to have some discussions about that as part of the preliminary budget process. So those are things that we know are going to be in the preliminary budget. Just wanted to remind everybody about those. And, you know, if there's something else you want us to consider, you know, now is a good time to let us know. Or if you want to bring it up, if nothing comes to mind right now immediately and you want to bring it up at another meeting, that's fine too. But I wanted to at least give you an opportunity to say something if there's, you know, something on your mind about that now, but also revisit the other projects we've talked about over the course of the year that we're going to be putting in that first draft to you.
Gary, is the sidewalk budget quote, that's your thing, right? So I was thinking the other day, on all of these back streets, it may be beneficial for us to do asphalt sidewalks instead of concrete,
You can do whatever you guys want to do, it's up to you guys.
because they're significantly cheaper.
Well,
How do they hold
What's
up?
the difference? Yeah.
Well, I've been doing a little bit of research on this, and apparently they don't lift as much as concrete does. But another benefit is you can use regular road salt to de-ice them, because apparently regular road salt is damaging to concrete surfaces.
It depends on how the concrete is treated.
Okay.
And what, yes, that's why they go with a 3,500 to 4,000, the salt resistant.
Right.
And they also put a treatment on it when they finish it off.
Maybe some of these back street sidewalks don't need to have sidewalks anymore too. Certain ones, not all of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just the only draw of concrete is it's pretty. But
I mean, it's up to you guys, whatever you guys want. I'll get a price on it, because it's a whole different, because it's a lot of handwork and they have a sidewalk machine.
yeah,
Well,
they
I'd
have to have a small.
I'd certainly rather see asphalt than the sidewalks gone.
Right, if you have a
Yeah.
1/3 price sidewalk, then you can maintain it and you can have more nicer sidewalks than.
Unless we get, someone says, I don't like it.
Well, that's the thing.
So walk
that's
on the
what-
road.
Right, that's the major drawback of asphalt sidewalks is they're a little bit ugly, but you know it's not like we're
And it's
doing
gonna
Main
be
Street.
hard, well, you say we had a water break, whatever, we gotta dig across that sidewalk.
Mhm.
It's easier to replace a concrete one, because you can form it, where asphalt, you cut it, you patch it, and you get,
Right.
it's hard to match back.
Don't they get really, really hot and sticky?
They get hot. But so-
Which is a benefit in the winter, but
But
not.
so does
Right,
concrete.
so I know like some communities are going away from like asphalt colored things
And I
because
don't
of
know how
the
they're
heat, because like having so much of it within a community is actually raising the temperatures of
Right,
communities.
And I don't think it'll hold up with plowing, the guys plowing drivers that are going across it. I don't know.
I think it'd be something to look into, and even if we do one street and just kind of like a guinea pig street, see how it holds up, see how people like it. I don't know. But, so if you were to get a quote for a church, could you get one asphalt and concrete? We can compare them.
I can just get a rough budget from ECI, and get a rough idea what it costs per foot.
They must have a sidewalk bigger. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that was my only thing.
Are we talking about any paving projects this coming year or no?
I don't know, I'd have to go through
I
and
know
drive them
people, I
all.
know people ask about Maple Park, and I know they ask about church, upper church.
Everybody wants a new road.
I know.
Yeah, because we didn't do all the projects we were
No,
going to do last year, but it's just the expense.
Expense.
because Bismarck North Church didn't get done.
No.
And neither did
And we
Mrs.
also
Square?
was
Yeah, the
just-
top of Mrs. Square.
No,
Or, well,
yeah, the first part of
from-
Mrs. Square.
From Champlain all the way up to the church.
And again, we can all go out, either walk or drive the roads and see.
I mean, you also-
I don't think there's any of them that are standing out to me right now. I think we're.
I mean,
got a
church is
pretty
a little rough, upper church is pretty rough, maybe
Yeah.
Park's pretty rough. I think, lower Pleasant's pretty rough too, I mean, that's down by Brownway is pretty rough down from the intersection of the church down on the corner is pretty rough.
You know, there's some asphalt sidewalk that didn't hold up
That's what they have down there?
on
Didn't
that
they pour it over concrete though?
east side.
I think we poured over concrete, I think.
Right, I think
And
they
how
poured
long has it
asphalt over concrete.
No, it's been a long time.
It'd be nice, there must be, like some sort of a file for when we've done each street.
I know of.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, each project has a file,
Right.
but you'd have to go
Because
back and pull each one.
Right.
I'm so
to
glad
figure
we have
out
the windows
date.
open.
I know,
Pick,
we were
pick,
just
pick
saying.
a bad
maybe
street
shut
and
it
try to
in
find
here.
when it was the sidewalk was last done.
You know, it's like we have to make up our
So
minds,
that's
sweat or
pretty
choke.
But, so you wanna know when Pleasant Street was that
No,
the
I'm just
question?
saying theoretically, that way we can kind of gauge, you know.
I think like Orchard was done in that early 2000, was it John 2005, we did Orchard Street?
Well, only one side of it.
Right, one side of it.
Yeah, that'd be the south side of Orchard Street was done in 2006, I think it was.
And that one hit the lifting because they did do control joints in the last couple of hot summers. We had to cut the joint because the sidewalk was lifting off the gravel and we had to cut it and drop it back down because there was a gap this high when summer was.
Oh, that's a nice trip
The
factor.
concrete was 108, 10 degrees, and there's no place to expand, it just
Yeah.
picked right up.
Well, I think it would be a really good idea at some point, whether it be in the spring or this fall, if we literally did a daytime walking tour. So that we could firsthand see everything that's there. Everywhere.
I mean, there's a lot of sidewalks that haven't been taken care of for years, I mean, it's been,
30, 40, 50 years.
You'd wanna do that sooner rather than later though, if you're planning on it for budget for next year.
Yeah, and remember, if you guys are all gonna get together, that even if you're, just walking around talking, that's considered a meeting, so
We could be
you,
on opposite sides of the street, 2 on one side and 3 on another.
A three-step form.
well, I don't know, I don't know, you might be stretching it with that. But one thing you could do is
Well, I
just-
have them all memorized, so I can stay
You know
home.
which ones need to be done.
yeah, I mean, you could get together though in twos, if you wanted to, get 2 and 2 together, that's not a majority.
Or you can go out one at a time and take some pictures.
Or one at a time if you want, and just walk the areas that you're concerned about and, take good notes and, if there is a road or a sidewalk that you think should be considered for the preliminary budget, bring it up at the next board meeting. You don't wanna wait too late because staff needs time to research numbers and stuff so that we can get it in the budget. So I guess I would ask, don't put it off any later than maybe like the first week of December, if you're gonna make a recommendation on a sidewalk or a road project.
They could be covered up by then, so we probably ought to do it before it snows.
Yeah, that's true too, yeah.
on Church Street, there is a sidewalk missing on Church Street from.
By the abandoned house.
From Pearl all the way up past, like,
Starts again at Steve Como.
yes,
Yeah,
Yeah, that was taken out.
yeah, if I remember correctly, I don't remember the exact year, but I think I had been here just like a year or
There's some
so.
spaces that won't be able to.
And I think Gary Denton had approached the homeowners.
Gary Offerton.
I'm s-
The other
I
Gary.
said Gary Denton.
like, wait a minute.
Sorry,
God
Gary.
rest his soul.
Gary Atherton had approached the homeowners and asked them about discontinuing that sidewalk, and they all seemed okay with it, which is why we just took it out.
So basically start from going and go up to where it is now, for pricing, for budget for that sidewalk.
I think it'd be just for the one side.
Yeah, from
Whoa,
Cuomo's up,
Yeah.
on one side.
Okay, does anybody have any other projects they wanna include? Not to put any extra burden on staff, but it's easier to cut a project than to give them short notice.
Yeah. We had at one point talked about, speed signs on all the roads.
We have done some speed signs, we have them all, we were at a budget.
Okay.
We had them, like, we did Pleasant, we did Ferguson, but we had no more budget, they're $50 for the sign, it's about $100 and something per sign.
Right.
You
Yeah,
need
so I
more
wasn't
for
sure
next year?
if we would need
What's
more
that?
for next year then.
Are you gonna need more for next year?
I believe, yeah,
So sounds like the board would like to see that, so why don't you figure out how many more signs we'd need
Yep.
for whatever roads
Yeah,
aren't
we
signed?
got
I don't think
Church.
there's many left
we
anymore.
got Church, we got Pleasant.
But
we got-
figure out whatever the number is and put a budget number in there.
I think this it's more expensive than I always want it to be, but we had talked about flashing lights, but I'm trying to, when I say flashing lights, pedestrian crossing lights.
Didn't we talk about that might end up being part of the Main Street project,
Yeah,
rather than just us?
yeah.
We're talking about the
it's
ones that
part of-
flash at a crosswalk.
Right, it's part of the discussion regarding the Vital Village project and what, if anything, will eventually happen with that. But that, putting a flashing light on the, whatever the solution ends up being to the Dickinson Avenue, Main Street crossing, the intent was to have some flashing lights at that intersection, if that's what you're talking about.
I'd like to see them all have them.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think there's a couple of intersections where it'd be really good. I'm totally, like, not even sure the realm of the costs of those, but it's something,
They
cause they do, and the Vital Village stuff is like a 5 to 10 year before things would
Yeah.
happen, so it'd be good to, if it's feasible, for something to happen sooner.
Even if the project changes where they're located, we can always move them to another.
Right, it did,
place.
right, cause they're not like exactly a permanent structure.
If anybody drives through Winooski, theirs are fairly new. And it's kind of an impressive sight to see them work.
Yeah, and especially like walking around town at nighttime, which is 4 o'clock soon.
Soon.
Yeah.
So do you see any other issues with that, Gary, from an infrastructure?
I don't know if those are powered by solar or those powered by power themselves.
I don't either.
I think you can
I don't know
have
how
both
they're.
options, I think. I've
Be
seen
easier
solar
for
powered
solar
ones.
ones too.
I've seen solar ones.
Solar, but I don't know how that, I mean,
Yeah.
they're solar, a battery backup, so it's like our speed signs.
I would imagine there'd be grants available for that.
And
I mean, Governor's
public
Highway
safety.
Program. I
Mhm.
mean, there's
So,
renewable energy. I don't know.
so you'd like that in the preliminary budget, though? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's at least
I
gonna
would.
cost for one.
How many do you want, and where do you want them?
Well, like you said, Dickinson in Maine is probably the most dangerous one of all.
Okay, so 2 there.
And then I would say if we did another set, then like maybe up by the rail trail crossing.
Mhm.
Yep. So
Okay.
4 total.
So that'd be Main and Depot, essentially.
So just for fun, this website has solar powered LED flashing pedestrian crosswalk signs for like $2,200.
That's a
For
lot less than I
both
thought.
sides
they
of the
were.
road, or just
that's one
one?
side, bro, one.
That's a single sided.
One side, 'cause
If we
those flashing
go
speed signs are $4,000.
Well-
Fucking 10 grand for lights.
right.
Well, what's a human life worth?
That also kind of, the other,
Well, we
another,
can put them in the budget, and you guys can think about, when you see the reality
Chew
of
on it
that
when we see
and
it.
everything else
Yep.
together, like every year, you'll
Yeah.
have to make some decisions
Yep.
about what your priorities really are for the upcoming year.
Did Zoom go off?
No, it was an update for the computer.
Oh.
We're good.
But I did also just kind of wonder, not adding something to the budget, but when will we know more about ARPA spending and how to think about that? Because I think that's going to maybe determine also our thoughts on some of our projects.
Agreed, and your guess is as good as mine. This has been a very slow rollout by our state government. There are still a lot of details that are just unknown, and even programs themselves that they still have money for, but they haven't designed the programs yet. So this is a very, very slow rollout. But as I've said in the past, you have time to spend this. It's not like you've only got a year and a half to spend this and it's got to get done. You've got several years to spend this. So I think we need, to see what the total rollout is going to be from the state. That will help us understand what potential buckets of money we're going to have within this ARPA program to use on projects. Right now, I think we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. So it's very hard for us as staff to give you any clear recommendations. But we have been, just internally talking about some different projects that we are pretty sure are going to qualify. And when the time is right, we would, like to talk with you guys about that. For example, we know we need to do the Elm Street and Main Street water and wastewater replacement project. We know we have to do that. We're currently working on a study that's being done by Aldrich and Elliott engineers to put together a plan and also budget estimates on what that's going to cost. And Wayne Elliott is very close to having that study completed now. So I think that potentially that's a project that should qualify for ARPA funding. So, once we get the budget from Wayne and we can start looking at what kind of different pockets of money there might be in ARPA, I think that, for example, is a project that should be a fit.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
I just have one more question on the power line being buried, that scoping study. What fund would that come out of, electric or general?
Electric.
Okay, that's all that I have for questions. Any other projects or questions? All right, if we're done with that, we move on to manager's report.
Okay. All right. So I've had a couple of conversations with Chris Sargent from Dubois and King regarding wrapping up during these final couple of weeks the Vital Village scoping study project. As Chris and I continue to work on the administrative part of that, we've got some information and reports that need to get filed into the state by October 31st. One question that came up in Chris and I's conversation that I want to ask you guys is whether the Board of Trustees are expecting another final presentation meeting on this study. Typically, you would do this, but given the way this project unfolded during the last 4 months or so, it kind of seemed to Chris and I like maybe we've already done this because we had the additional 3 months of the study that was added on to the timetable, and then 2 extra public meetings in which Chris really did give like the final presentation and the final plans, and then you guys made your final decision on which option you preferred of the alternatives at your September 12th, well actually it was your last meeting, September 28th meeting. So we really kind of did the final, presentation and version. You guys made your decision about which alternative you wanted to go through, but Chris could come back if you want him to do another like final presentation on the 26th, if you want. So I just want to ask you guys that question.
What would that gain us?
It would just, be essentially rehashing everything we've been through. I don't know that there's much to gain, but it
I
was a
think we're
topic that came up during our conversation, so I thought, well, I better ask and make sure, is the board expecting this or not? And we can do it either way, but I'm not sure that there's, a good reason to do it, unless you want it.
Personally, I don't think we need to.
I think that everything that needed or wanted to be said had been said, and
I agree. I think we're good.
All right.
They did their work, we did our due diligence, and
Yep. Okay, I just wanted to ask the question, make sure, there wasn't that expectation. So I'll let Chris know, we're done, and we'll just continue filing our administrative work and get the final report into the state by the 31st. Also want to let the board know that we have been sent notice from IBEW Local 300 on the 2022 healthcare increase for our premiums. For those of you that aren't aware, IBEW, which is the union that are, well, not all, but most of our employees belong to, is also our healthcare provider. And so they sent us notice last week. That notice is attached to the back of the manager's report. They're planning a 2% increase effective January 1st, 2022 in our healthcare premiums. Given the circumstances, I think this is a minor increase for healthcare coverage, and I think we also need to keep in mind that last year, or I should say this year in 2021, there was no increase in IBEW's healthcare premiums. So that was pretty darn.
it's unusual in itself.
That is extremely unusual. You talk to.
It's cheaper than what Blue Cross gets for it.
Yeah, I mean, they're sometimes in the double digits going from one year to another. So I think these, it's fairly reasonable. You never want to get an increase, obviously,
But this sounds like we should be grateful.
yeah, I mean, no increase this year and 2% for the upcoming year, that's pretty good, I think. But I wanted to make you guys aware of that, and as I said, the notice that we received from them is on the back of the manager's report. Also, want to make sure you guys are aware, I've been informed by the town of Enisburg that Sean Cayo has resigned as town community development director. Was informed actually today, so this is an update even from what I wrote this on Friday. I had thought, and he had told the town that his last day was going to be October 15th. Apparently he told them today was his last day, so he is.
so that's the economic development.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, so he has resigned. Today was apparently his last day working for the town. And I've been told he's taken what is going to be a new position as director for the Franklin County CUD. That's the union district that's looking at possibly expanding broadband service into the remaining areas of Franklin County that don't have broadband coverage. So I just want to make you guys aware of that, so that is a vacancy now in the town's government.
Hopefully they're working on it.
Yeah, is there a board of them posting the position? I haven't seen anything.
Haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah, I haven't.
Wait, so he just resigned as being the representative on the
You did that as
Northwest
well.
Regional, so he's done working for the county and.
Probably a conflict of interest thing.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think he probably resigned, if he's gonna be the director of the CUD and is no longer the community development director for the town, I think he probably was wondering why he should be a representative on the Regional Planning Commission. But I don't wanna speak for Sean, but I can guess that's probably what his thinking
Well,
was.
hopefully they'll find someone else quickly.
Also want to give you guys an update on the electric department digger truck. Dave, just so you know, Dave Westcomb has been contacting the folks at Q's Equipment in Amherst, New Hampshire every week, trying to push them along. That's the company that the board agreed to have the digger truck picked up and brought to for servicing so that we can hopefully get a clean inspection on that digger truck. So it has been down there for about 3 weeks now. The folks at Q's have cleaned and retested the fiberglass boom, and things, we're told, look pretty good there. We're still waiting on a quote for the mechanical repair of a small hydraulic cylinder on the boom. Apparently Q's is having difficulty finding a replacement part because of the age of the digger truck. So they're considering if they really can't find a part, they may try to manufacture it themselves in-house and see if they can do it that way. But at this point, we've had no word from them as to when the truck will be ready for pickup. So the cleaning of the fiberglass boom seemed to have gone well, but they are having difficulty with the replacement of that hydraulic cylinder. So that's what we're waiting on. And so once they get that hydraulic cylinder in, they can retest everything again. Hopefully it all passes inspection and goes well, and then we can pick it up. But they still have not given us a firm pickup date because of the cylinder issue. And that's what I know right now as of Friday on the digger truck. So hopefully it won't be too much longer.
Sometimes it's hard with older pieces.
Yeah, it is. It's an old truck. It's a 93, I believe. Is that correct,
I'm not
Gary?
sure what year it is.
I think
91, I thought.
And I was 94.
94.
Well, it's in the 90s.
We all
Early
got
90s.
It wasn't yesterday.
call it early 90s then. Early 90s vintage. We all got a slightly different date, but all in the early 90s.
Yeah, I thought it was a 91.
Okay. Then lastly, just want to make the board aware that the new picnic tables and trash cans and recycling receptacles for Lincoln Park and Maple Parks are now in place. So you may want to check those out if you would not yet. I've gotten some positive feedback from a number of people in the community who have said that they're very glad to see the picnic tables there, and I've actually seen people using them.
They are being
over the
used.
last couple of
Yeah.
I've seen
days.
a lot of people in private.
It's
Ken said he no more than had placed the first one out, and a lady walked by and was so excited and said she was gonna go home and get her lunch and come right back, and he said she did too.
That's
so
wonderful.
good.
That-
My
We
goodness.
couldn't hope for a better reaction. This is great.
Yeah,
So it's such a wise thing to do.
it was so good. Yeah, are they able to stay out in the winter? I can't
Yes, they're all
remember.
composite.
Awesome, cool.
I got one more update too, John. The windows at the 42 Village Drive are being put in. When will that happen?
It's the electric department building. That was, I think,
We
our,
took those old big, one pane,
Mhm.
10-foot windows that we're losing heat out of. We gonna block off one second, having regular windows in the bottom.
One other thing too, I was gonna just mention to the board, if we could backtrack to the scoping study issue, the Vital Village project. Heather Moore has been sending emails to Sam and I over the last couple of weeks, asking if it was possible to set up some kind of automatic notification, via computer or iPhone, whatever electronic device people have, that would just send out an automatic message giving notice to people related to public meetings for the Vital Village project down the road. We're just wrapping up the scoping study now, so there probably won't be a need for that for at least a little bit. But she was asking about it, for future efforts on the Vital Village project as a whole. So I had some discussions with staff down at VEPSA. I myself was unfamiliar with a listserv process, which is what Heather was suggesting in her emails. And I reached out to Julia Leopold, who you guys haven't met before, but she's the communications specialist for VEPSA, another VEPSA employee. Like Ken Sanamore is the IT specialist for VEPSA. And communicated with Julia a little bit about this listserv idea. And she indicated it was possible. She could set it up for us. if that's what we wanted to do. And she recommended a software called MailChimp in order to do that. So I'm just asking the question because I mean, Heather's one board member, but if you're gonna set this up as a policy, it really should come back to the board if you want this done. Is this something the board wants staff to pursue, to set something up like this for future Vital Village efforts?
Is it something
Can I
like
add a
just the
little to
public
it?
could sign up for?
Yeah, so the idea is, like, it's, listserv was what I used originally, but like, it could just be an email group. And so, cause, you know, every time there's an event or something, there's a lot of work that goes into making sure everybody's aware that it's happening. And we've heard feedback that people say they don't know much about it. So we could do that work and say, do you wanna sign up? And then every time there's an event, you'll get an email notification. Or if there's like a meeting and some information is exchanged, you'll be emailed the information.
Is there a cost like per email, or how does it work?
If you do it through email, because I do it through email for work for different projects, it's just, you just go to your contacts, and I don't know if our email system does it, but like in Gmail it does. You just make a group. And so if I'm emailing my staff, for example, I would just type in site coordinators. All my site coordinators' email addresses will generate, and I just send out an email.
That's how everybody gets them for
For
Enisburg
the
Initiative.
BI, so you can do it through BCC, so you don't give out anybody's email address. And that way, you know, we can take this quiet time, sign people up, and when there is information to share, they can just get the email. And then a listserv would work similarly, but the technology is a little different. I can't speak to the technology of a listserv.
So we could do it, we could almost offer it as a reminder to people for every meeting, really.
I don't know if you wanna go that
Yeah,
far with it.
Doesn't sound like it would be that much work.
I don't know, but I think keeping it separate is good because some people just might be specifically interested in like a big project like the Vital Village. Because they might also not be community members or
Right.
people that live in the village, but they might have business within the village.
And you have started posting, have you not, before we have regular board meetings? Were you gonna put them on Front Porch Forum or Facebook, or you can tell I pay
Well-
attention to a lot of those?
Staff, you guys
somebody-
actually
staff here's been
requested
doing that.
that staff at 3 more posting locations, I think it was 2 meetings ago. So, just so you're keeping count and you're aware, we are currently posting now at 7 different locations.
So there's certainly plenty of opportunity out there for anyone who
Well,
wants to be
I've
aware.
never seen any municipality that posts in more locations than the village of
Well,
Enisburg Falls is doing.
That's not a
right
bad
now.
thing,
I'm just telling you.
Not at all.
Yeah.
because we've given the opportunity. And then
Yeah,
some.
I mean, 7
No.
different locations,
As
that's
long
a
as
lot.
they have the slightest amount of interest.
Yes.
They have the availability, the information
They
they need.
do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if they don't care, then they're not
Well,
gonna look anyway, so.
But like with the Vital Village, it's a very specific
Right.
group of people that would have interest that might not want to come to a regular meeting. And it's not always a trustees meeting that these events are
Right.
taking place. It's sometimes like more community meetings, like when we did it at the Harvest Festival. And then there was stuff pre-pandemic that occurred.
When was that?
I know. So it was just a thought that came to mind as a way of trying to help keep invested, so that we don't have to every single time there's something going on, knock on people's doors and hand out a flyer. Somebody from the Vital Village Project would just send that email.
I don't
Right,
have to
well,
make 43
and they'd have to
trips,
request it though, and so that's part of it too, is
Right.
that
You
Julia
have to
would
be
have.
on the list.
Right, Julia would have to track, set up the system so that she could track the people that had requested this, and also keep it updated,
Yeah.
keep the data updated, because as you know, some people may lose interest, wanna be removed, some people may change their email address, and you've gotta track all that stuff too.
So the quick serve, is that something that we have the ability to do right now for the listserv?
I don't think to the level that that it's being asked to be done, which is why I reached out to Julia. And she, this is her forte, this is what she does, she's a communications specialist. But she indicated to me that she could set this up for us, and she would be willing to operate it on our behalf if we wanted
That's
to
great.
set up.
I think that sounds like a good idea. It
I
seems
don't
like
see where
there's a
it's
lot
gonna
of
hurt to
people.
try.
Right. There's a lot of interest and a lot of, I guess, a lot of volume of interest as well as like severity of interest in this one project. So I think it'd be good for at least those who want to be in the loop to get notified about everything.
Okay, so I'll
That's a
tell her
go-ahead.
the board would like
That's a
this to
go-ahead.
be set up, yeah, and she can start working on it. But as I said, there, you know, we're actually just wrapping up the scoping study now, so it'll be a little while before another.
There's also
public
different
process
phases too,
comes up
right?
with this. Oh, yeah, this is, I mean, to do the whole Vital Village project, everything that's in the master plan is, I mean, that's gonna take a long time,
Right.
a very long time.
So everyone in that
Probably
list.
10 or 15 years, you know, to complete
Most of
everything
them
that's
will
in
be
there.
Right.
Some of them.
But yeah, it's just like,
Hopefully we'll
if we
still
do
do
it now
that.
and it's quiet, when we're not busy, then we
Yeah.
have the time to take our time with it versus
Mhm.
like, oh, we've got stuff coming up in a month, let's try to make this happen when we're already busy with, yeah.
Yep, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, I'll let her know.
We
then.
can keep everyone informed of the whole as it progresses. All right. Other business? Anybody have any
I
other
have a
business?
question. I was approached today, two questions, I guess. One, do we know where we're at with the no, I don't even wanna say it, the no loitering sign in the commuter parking lot? And the second half of that is another question, which is who's responsible for cleaning up that lot?
So the first answer is, and I think this was asked at our last meeting as well.
I was just
And-
hoping maybe, you know.
And I have basically the same answer again,
Okay.
except I sent out another, since the question came up again.
Yeah.
I sent out another email to Jim Coda and asked him again, you know, hey, haven't heard anything, it's been a few weeks again, can you tell me anything? And he said no, but he would keep trying to
The next one
dig
with his
and,
mother's name.
Should you call the governor?
yeah.
No, it's-
And the answer to the second question is, it's the state.
Okay,
The-
that's
the
kind of what I
property-
thought.
Yeah, the property is owned by the state of Vermont. It's under the jurisdiction of V-Trans, which is the transportation department for the state of Vermont. And, I mean, it's their property. They're responsible for maintaining it.
Well, I certainly was
Yeah.
told today that apparently they're not doing a very good job.
Yeah,
But I haven't visited the parking lot.
yeah, and in my,
Garbage all over the place.
in my emails to Jim, I've expressed that, you know, that there is frustration in the community here that the state is, you know, apparently, you know, not really being a good caretaker of the property. And if they can at least get the no loitering signs up, that will help law enforcement, you know, be able to get people out of there, out of the property, their property, who are, you know, doing things they shouldn't be doing. And he understands that, but he has no control over giving the permission to put the no loitering signs up, and the state has to do that.
Someday.
Yeah.
I had a question, is there any progress on when we're gonna have a joint meeting with the select board?
So I have been having a number of different emails back and forth with Billy Joe. A couple of things that they're still trying to sort out on their end. And the last thing she said to me was they were probably going to be looking at the second meeting in November, which is the 23rd. That's one of your, because it's our turn to host the meeting, so it'd be on a Board of Trustees regular meeting night. So that'd be the fourth Tuesday of November, but she wasn't even totally confirming that to me. She said that's what they're looking at now, and she would get back to me as soon as she could confirm that date.
Okay.
And once she does, you know, I'll bring it back to you for your final blessing.
Okay, thank you. And, kind of going back to, from your manager's report, does the village have any connection with hiring? Like, are we part of the hiring process for the economic development director?
No, it's a town position,
It's
it's not a
completely
village
town.
position.
As far as I'm aware, there's a steering committee that oversees that position. And it's set up
Oh.
that 2 appointees from the village and 2 from
That's
the
what I
town,
thought.
and
I
1
was
from the
told
general
that was-
public.
I was told that was disbanded.
It
It's-
was?
That's what I was told.
Shouldn't
Okay,
have.
that may be
Feel
something we
like-
can check into.
Yes.
It at least hasn't been meeting, yeah.
I
That'd be
was
good to
told
know
it was
about.
disbanded and Sean was now answering to the select board. That's what I was told.
Originally, that's how it was set up to be, but
I would be curious to
Yeah,
know
'cause
if
I
it was
thought there
disbanded
was
to
a-
know why.
Yeah, and I thought there was an investment on from both boards.
Yeah.
Well, it was-
but-
All I can say is talk to the select board.
Yeah.
It's a town position.
I was on
I
that
have
board.
no authority over that
Mhm.
position and neither does the board of trustees, so.
So I was on that board, and I guess the idea for it was to provide oversight over hiring and as well try to make a job description, because there really wasn't any, that position didn't exist until that time.
Mhm.
So that was the job of the steering committee at that time, and I guess if they felt that they did that, then
They
maybe they did
succeeded.
disband, but
That-
I remember once COVID hit, we didn't have a meeting for like a year, and I put my resignation in. Matt was my replacement, but he's also gone too, so yeah, we should probably check into that. All right, is that it for other business? So we have some things in executive tonight, and I'll need a motion to enter into executive.
I'll move.
Eli with the
Second.
first, Heather with the second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed nay. All right, we're in executive.